Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the celebrated podcast that explores your favorite looks in film, television, and fashion history. Through conversations with the fashion world's elite and award-winning hair, makeup, and costume designers on sets around the world, you will see and hear exciting tales from behind the scenes, career origin stories, and tons of advice and tips. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hey everybody, welcome to Look Behind the Look. We are hitting it hard for awards season. Sorry for the binge in all of these episodes at once, but it's a crazy time of year and it happens every year. I don't know why I expect it to be any different. But this month has been really difficult for our family. You can learn more about all that on my Sundance recap. I know 2025 has gotten off to a rough start for all of us, but we're in it now, okay? And today we're going to be talking about all good things. We're talking to awards contender, Oscar nominee Mike Marino about his work in A Different Man, starring Sebastian Stan. And it's an amazing movie. It's completely different. I say it's completely different, but it's also similar to some movies that we've been seeing, like The Substance, which Mike and I talk a lot about. You can definitely look up a numerous amount of interviews with Mike about his techniques, his process, and how he physically did this work in A Different Man. And of course, don't forget to check out his amazing, stunning work for Penguin, which is otherworldly. But what we talked about a lot today were his philosophies and sort of the way he thinks about filmmaking. And I was really impressed with the ideas and work ethic that he had and the way that he approaches creative thinking, because that's the kind of person that you want behind the camera, somebody who thinks globally and has a wide range of reference. We talked about everything from David Lynch to what body horror actually is, to all the different ways to use prosthetics, and sort of the philosophy of what our physical appearance is in relation to how we feel about ourselves inside, which is a fascinating subject, and I loved hearing what he had to say. So enjoy this conversation. It's a little different, and I know you'll love it.
Hey, man. I know you. What's your name?
Edward?
Do you work for Facebook?
No, but I get this a lot.
Oh, hey, neighbor. People can be cruel, I imagine.
All unhappiness in life comes from not accepting what is. You know who taught me that? Lady Gaga.
This drug seems to have the potential to actually heal you. The implications are life-changing.
My face is falling off in clumps.
I'm sure it only looks like clumps to you.
Perhaps any potential risk is worth the reward?
Piece of man cake.
Can I believe my eyes? Edward! Who don't remember me? Oswald!
Hi. That guy's amazing.
What do you know about him? Who is he? He's leading a double life.
I'm getting this feeling I've messed things up for you.
You know how we idealize people when we're in love?
So I'm the idolized version of Oswald?
It's kind of brilliant seeing you who looks like you, but you're not yourself.
Let's just all start being honest with ourselves, old friend.
Okay, hi Mike, how are you?
Hi Tiffany.
You're just telling me about the rain in LA, and I'm so glad to hear it, but I know it's miserable, and it's like 2 degrees here in New York. So I'll trade you any day.
Yeah, I'm avoiding New York at all costs, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's too cold, even though it's cold here right now. I have a place there too, so.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's
good.
right in Soho area, but
nice.
It's too cold for me right now. I'm too old for this.
Yeah, I hear you. When you feel it in your bones, you're like, it's a reminder of how old we are, and I don't like that. I don't like any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I have been wanting to talk to you forever, even before your Oscar nomination, because of your amazing work in The Penguin. And I talked to Brian Batty about working with you, and he of course is like he bows down to you every day. Your work transforming Colin Farrell is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
And we've talked about that on the podcast before without you present. So it's great to meet you. And today we're talking about your Oscar nominated work for A Different Man. And I wanted to know, first of all, how the project came to you. I've read a lot about the transformation process, but I just wanted to get a little bit into how you got with the project and Sebastian Stan.
Actually, the interesting thing is that Sebastian texted me out of nowhere.
Oh my God.
He just kind of said, "Hey, man, um, I'm Sebastian Stan, and I've done some movies." Like, really humble guy,
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but it actually came through a friend, another makeup effects friend out in LA who had worked with him on a project before, and he had passed along he asked it, "Can I pass along my friend Sebastian's number?" And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
I had no idea who Sebastian was yet. I didn't know his
Right.
last name or anything, and then he texted me, and then he was just like the coolest guy. So we got along immediately. And the weird thing is that upon just initial texting and then becoming friends, later on we found out that we grew up in the same exact town in New York. It's like the weirdest thing ever.
Which town is this?
It was in Rockland County in New York,
Uh-huh,
like
uh-huh.
kind of ups, if you're from New York, you know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
So he grew up there and so did
Oh
I.
my
So
God.
we were like, what the hell? I guess it was meant to be.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. The work that you guys did was collaborative? How would you describe it?
It's all a collaboration.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, I always explain it like it's being in a band or something. You have a director, you have an actor, you have everyone is like performing their piece. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't have the Doors, without Jim Morrison, so it's kind of like, one
Right.
piece is removed and it doesn't exist.
Right.
It's just all these pieces come together. It's a total collaboration. And that's the unique thing about film and about makeup and each department is that it relies on every other department, so it's really
Mm-hmm.
a communal piece of art, and which is driven by director, sometimes producer as well. But this for instance, my designs and all of these things can't exist without the performance and Sebastian's participation and
Right.
willingness to wear the makeup and to act in the makeup and to make sure it looks its best and all that stuff. So it's really like a personal collaboration between us, and then it expands into a collaborative communal piece of art, which is really
Right.
an interesting thing because none of it is real. Nothing is real. I mean, even when you walk in a room and then you think you're walking into the room, it's all fake. Everything is fake, So it's like we're creating images, and every image is, a special department's job to make sure this looks like nothing is fake, So it's
Right.
the whole film in itself is a magic trick in some sense, and nothing different from the makeup aspect of it.
Well, that's really interesting you should say that because that's definitely the theme of the film and like that's what you excel at really as an artist is these characters like the penguin, Sebastian Stan's character, they do seem very real even though these are all sort of cartoonish things and how well the disease that you're dealing with in A Different Man is a very real disease. So
Right.
so how do you make it real like that? How do you make it not it's very so believable?
Well, it's observation. It's like any artist. It's
Hmm.
like any sculptor or painter or something. My job is to interpret like shapes and emotional impact behind that. So why is one oil painter of the past better than another person now, or why is it different? I mean, it's an individual that uses a medium that creates this thing. So the materials we're using are pretty standard of what is used in the industry today. It's just, it's 35 years of, being a little kid and learning and doing this craft for that long since I'm, just, in my early teens or even earlier, that entire knowledge of that time period it makes it available for me to do something rapidly with confidence. If I didn't go through all the struggles of learning and experimenting, and it's not like you just press the button and it's done. It's just so many thousands of steps involved, and teams of people, and many of those people I've trained personally over the years, to get to kind of manipulate these materials in the way that I want them to be. So I'm orchestrating how thick, how thin, how soft, how all of those things are performing. So I'm actually creating a living being. So creating a living being or creating anything that looks real is, with a dramatic twist, is very hard. You're playing God in a sense, so how that's like the most difficult thing to do. I mean, I could be as stylized as I want, but if the tone of the film isn't that stylized and it sits in a real thing, I have to adapt to that style. So same with the Penguin. I mean, I could make Colin Farrell look really weird and have this really long beak and all this stuff, but that wouldn't work in that tone of that film. So I had to kind of push boundaries. How far can I go and still stay in this reality? Same with Sebastian's character Edward in the film. Um, it's based on Adam Pearson's face because he's playing against him in the film. So
So good.
it's
So
a
good.
really funny, interesting take on all of it. But Sebastian's face is different. It has to fit his face. It has to be proportionate, to his face. It has to move a certain way. It has to go through this transitions of scabbing and flaking and peeling and ripping off and all these things. So it's different than Adam. So I have to elaborate on creatively what the hell that is going to be.
Mm.
And my geekiness is looking to The Fly and looking to Poltergeist and all these things, to like, how do we rip his face off and all this stuff. So it's kind of like this vast knowledge of being a film fan and an artist, to try to figure out how to do that stuff.
And did you like throw up a little bit when you had to destroy your work like that, stretching it? What was that? I wonder what that shooting day was like.
Well, we destroy our work every day. So
Right. Okay.
we
Yeah, that's fair.
basically, yeah, we create this thing that doesn't exist. We glue it on, and by the end of the day, we're ripping it off. And then the next day, if we're doing
Oh
it
my
again, we're
God.
starting over.
Right.
So it's like I always refer to it as like sidewalk art. You have like, this amazing thing you're doing on the sidewalk and everybody's looking and you're filming it and you're photographing it, and then it rains and it's over. So it's like it
Yeah.
doesn't really exist. It only exists in this piece of
Right.
time in the moment, and you hopefully catch it on film and you hopefully get it the way you want it to look, and then later it's edited, and then it's up to the viewer to perceive it in the way that they want to perceive it. So
Right. Right. And what was it like? Did you feel a lot of pressure having like access to this real face, and sort of modeling Sebastian's face off of this? And
oh
that must have
yeah.
been a little intimidating at
Yeah,
first.
it is. I mean, with anything that you're kind of mimicking, homaging, copying, or anything like that, in
Mm-hmm.
reality, it's always like, God is the source. It's like whatever
Right.
is created is the source, and it's like you can never get to that level of any kind. You could give the illusion that it's as good as that, but that's just the ultimate, and you can never duplicate that. So it's a matter of suggesting how close you can get to that
Mm-hmm.
energy, that form, that source material. So, and Adam being a real, person and not an object. I mean, it's just
Right.
taking all of that into consideration. And Adam himself is such a great actor, and he's so cool. He's a marvelous person.
Edward! Who don't remember me? Oswald.
I hi.
I really became friendly with him, and I love that guy. And it's you're honoring, representing, and he's so fun with. He owns himself. He's really the ideological version of the result of this film and what it's saying. I mean, it's like he really owns himself. He doesn't. People love him, and it's not about how you look. It's not about
Yeah.
truly just that, which we are in a time period of people obsessing over every little thing on their face, their eyebrow, their nose job, their this or that, and it's like crazy. And this person is so cool and charming and awesome, and he owns it, and he really does in real life. So it speaks on these deeper levels.
Hmm.
And my job is to try to fit it in this tone of the film in a respectful and interesting way to make the viewer understand what we're doing.
Right, right. Would you say, I mean, I can't help but as I was watching, I was like, it's like to me, this is very boiling it down to the simplicity, but I couldn't help but think it's like the substance for boys and like
Right,
it
right.
really those themes were really what's happening now that these two movies are such a success, Is it going to
Yeah.
continue?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's an artistic choice, really. I mean, it's cool that artists are making these thought-provoking projects that involve skin and involve
Hmm.
self and involve appearance and all of that. I mean, people either you accept who you are and you accept that we're in a time where we do age, no matter how much we can delay it, hack it, speed it up, reverse it, whatever. It's still you're existing as a soul inside this form that changes constantly, So I think it's become a more of an obsession, especially with assumption of how someone looks. I mean, online, there's an entire universe online. I mean, when you wake up in the morning, most likely, most of the people of the world today go on their phone immediately. So they're going
Hmm.
into another dimension, into another
Right.
world. So what they're seeing of someone's pictures or how they have posted, they may have taken 100 photos and posted one, and altered it, and that's what you think they look like. But
Hmm.
in reality, that avatar is fake and it's not real, So, um,
Hmm.
we're perceiving that we want to achieve what um, the ideal
Right.
version of ourselves are. But
And who defines that
yeah,
ideal?
yeah,
Right.
it's this kind of um, demonic in a sense driven force of perfection, and
Hmm.
nature is perfect. You can't duplicate that. It's sort of these social ideals, advertising, and all of these kind of subtle manipulative ways of perceiving who we are in a sense. And if we in the film, he could look perfect, and Sebastian Stan is pretty much as perfect as you can get as far as someone
Sure.
who's handsome and all of that stuff. And it just blows that out of the water. It's like, okay, he
Hmm.
changes his face, he becomes this new person with a new name, and he sucks. He doesn't know who he is, and he's trying to get back to being like Oswald, who Adam Pearson plays, who everyone loves, and he's charming. And Sebastian's character Edward just sits there like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. He doesn't know who he is. He
Right.
looks great, but he doesn't know who he is. So it's kind of this
Right.
cool play on that type of thing. And I think with the substance, it's similar in a more dramatic,
Hmm.
creepy way. With a little bit more. I don't know what you want to call that. It almost goes comedic towards the end, and
Right.
goes
Right.
into this like really absurd abstraction, where our film goes into an abstraction to a point, but it doesn't quite go to that length of um, um,
Well, what
fuck
when
you
does
comedic.
right, 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 like a complete statement. It's a more secret
Yeah,
statement for for a certain type of person to really pick up on. Now,
right.
but when does a film go into body horror? Like this is all a new body horror is a completely new thing to me. And A Different Man is not body horror. And Elephant Man is not body horror. So
Right.
like what is that genre? I don't even
Yeah, I don't even know who coined that term. I mean,
it's
I
like
guess I've lived in a body
okay,
horror
good. I
environment my whole life. I mean, like, The Fly. I mean, no one talked about
right.
body horror. I mean, that
Right.
was
Okay.
basically
I'm not crazy
1980,
then.
yeah, 1986. I mean, he's peeling his ear off. He's pulling his fingernail out. Poltergeist is 1983. Steven Spielberg's ripping his face off in that scene where the guy
Right.
the guy's skull is emerging and all of that stuff. And it's like this trippy fantasy, and it's always been around. I just think it's more vocalized now because of Instagram and the filters and all
Marketing.
these things, and
Hmm.
but I just think it's like horror movies or dramas. It's just there's no different. It's like it's like a catchphrase of today, body
Okay.
horror, I don't know. I mean, like, like I said, I mean, I've done like 35 years of body horror, it's like,
Right.
is what it
Okay.
is.
Good. Because I was like, do I not know? Am I not up on my stuff? This seems
No, no,
to me.
it's a stupid, stupid thing, whatever.
Yes, marketing is king, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally.
No, but I mean the themes in A Different Man. I mean, I'm reading David Lynch's stuff, of course, right now as we all kind of are diving into our Lynchian
Yeah.
worlds more than ever. And this is, I mean, he would just absolutely love this movie. And I'm wondering, and the things that you're saying about it, and I'm wondering about the budget because what I loved about the movie is it was so 70s and like the kind of movie that I grew up loving, these simple character studies that are just so funny and weird. And like, did you know what the look was going to be and how did that inform your look? Because it's so understated that it helps the realism of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot, really. I mean, I unfortunately never worked with David Lynch, who was one of the biggest influences in my life. Even
I
if I
can tell. I can
knew it or
tell.
not, I didn't even know
Hmm.
it because I saw The Elephant Man when I was 4 years old, and I didn't know what the hell that was, and
Wow.
it like twisted my whole, perception of
Full
everything.
circle for you. Full
Yeah,
circle for you. Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Hmm.
And and his work is very, you know, uh, aloof of what there's really trying to say. He's really,
Yeah.
not saying anything, but subconsciously it is in a sense. So this film is like a Lynchian type of movie.
Yeah.
And I did work on a film with Fred Elms, who shot Eraserhead and all these
Oh,
movies with David
wow.
Lynch. And I asked him about Eraserhead, and I said, like, how the hell did you do that movie? He goes, well, it took 9 years to put together.
Mm.
So that movie was like shot in pieces and all of these
Oh,
things like that. And this cumulative work over these years, and like each artist's ideas and techniques are changing throughout it. So it's like all this
right.
weird kind of, um, real raw, emotional and talent driven stuff. I mean, that movie is so unique in a sense. In fact, Kubrick showed that film um, to people before he made I think it was The Shining or something. I mean, he showed Eraserhead, screened it, and he was a big fan of that movie because it speaks on so many other levels. This film, I knew it was going to be 16 millimeter. I knew it was an indie. I knew it was low budget. I mean, and typically, like, I'm not doing those types of films much anymore.
Mhm.
But I loved the material and I loved what it was saying, and I loved, Aaron was cool, and he was, had like like a David Lynch kind of Charlie Kaufman feel to him, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is a cool person who's trying to make a piece of art, and I want to help
Mm.
make this movie. Um,
Mhm.
but I think the timelessness of uh, of how it looks, or it goes back to sort of a retro
Mhm.
look. I think that's just it's intentional because he is such a film buff, and Aaron Schimberg, and he's such a film fan. And I think going in knowing that it was going to be shooting on that type of film, I had over sort of textured the face and the makeup because I knew it would be shot through grain, and um
Ah, of course.
you have to balance your work. I learned this from Dick Smith, who did
Wow.
Taxi Driver and The Godfather and The
Mhm.
Exorcist and all this stuff, that you have to understand the lens and how your work
Okay.
is going to be shown. Because on
Mm.
Deer Hunter, there was this famous story about how he made Christopher Walken almost kind of yellow, and he was De Niro was questioning his why is he yellow? He's not yellow, and he's like, Bobby, you do your job. I know what I'm doing here. The lighting and all these things are a factor in how it's going to be viewed, and they were in that Russian roulette scene when they're
Oh my
firing a
God.
gun and he's like kind of a zombie, and Dick had to actually make him yellow because it wasn't reading that he was sick. So it was like it's all about how it's going to be shown,
Uh-huh.
what tone is going to be in. So I'm always thinking of those things too, like how is it going to be too smooth? Is it going to be shot
Right.
in high definition? Is it going to be shot in low definition? So it's just like a 60 millimeter film is basically like a 70s, 60s, 70s type of film grain. There's only one sequence where it's very clear, where it's the commercials.
Oh
in
God,
film,
yes.
where he's like leaning against the water cooler and stuff, and you kind of makeup looks different. It looks very colorful and all that. And he's wearing this
Yeah.
bright orange shirt and blue suit and stuff, So it's like Aaron's an expert in that, visual of what he wants to do, and the cinematographer, So it's all thought out, And
Did
you,
Aaron shoot? Aaron shot it himself? I
no,
didn't.
he did. He
Okay,
didn't.
okay, I
He did
didn't
it.
know. Yeah, yeah. But he's obviously has a
Yeah,
grip
but
on what
he's
he wants
right
visually.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
He's,
Yeah. Oh my God. I
Yeah.
love it.
So
I love it. I love it. Well, I am so excited for your nomination, and I could talk to you all day about this. I know you're very busy. You have like 100 interviews to do.
it's okay.
But thank you so much for talking to me, Mike.
Oh yeah, no problem, Tiff, and I appreciate you speaking to me. I hope I look and sound cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I promise you do. I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Mugresh Thakor. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.